So I'm guessing if you've looked at the news lately, your phone has probably been blowing up with crypto headlines, right? You're seeing record highs, you're hearing about massive scams, a whole new political landscape. It's a lot. In this explainer, we're going to cut right through all that noise and figure out what's really driving the wild crypto market of 2025.
Okay, let's just dive right in. The headlines are literally everywhere, and they're all painting this picture of absolutely incredible gains. Bitcoin has just been smashing through its old records, and it's got a lot of people thinking, hey, maybe this is the new normal.
And this is the crazy part. At the exact same time, we're seeing stories just like this one. So while some people are popping champagne, others are getting completely wiped out. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars gone in a flash. It's the brutal flip side of the coin.
So what is really going on here? Well, I think it all starts with this one number. An estimated 65.7 million adults in America now own some cryptocurrency. That's the sheer scale of what we're talking about today. It's huge.
And that number, well, that tells us something fundamental has shifted. What used to be this kind of nerdy, niche interest for tech people has absolutely exploded. It's become a full-blown mainstream financial movement that's pulling in millions of everyday people.
And it's not just that it's big, it's how fast this all happened. Look at this. In the US, ownership has practically doubled in just a few years, from 15% back in 2021 to 28% today. That shows you just how much confidence has come roaring back since that really bleak crypto winter we saw in 2022.
And leading the charge, no surprise here, is the one and only Bitcoin. It's been hitting these absolutely staggering new all-time highs, blowing past traditional markets like the S&P 500 and really cementing its place as the king of the market.
So you got to be asking, what is fueling this inferno? Well, it wasn't just one thing. It was more like a series of major events back in 2024 that came together to create the perfect storm for this kind of explosive growth.
Okay, so let's unpack those key moments. First up, the SEC finally approved spot Bitcoin and Ether ETFs. This was the total game changer, because all of a sudden, you could buy crypto in your normal brokerage account, just like a stock. That opened the floodgates for big institutional money. Then you had the Bitcoin halving, which is this built-in event that basically cuts the supply of new coins in half, making it more scarce. And to top it all off, the US election results led to this widespread feeling that the government was about to get a lot more crypto-friendly.
And that political piece? Man, you can see just how much it moved the needle right here. Check out these numbers. A whopping 75% of people who already own crypto now expect its value to go up under the new administration, and nearly 60% think it's going to help push crypto into the mainstream for good. That's some powerful belief driving the market.
Okay, so everything's looking up, right? Well, this is where the story gets really complicated. Because for all that hype and optimism, there's this massive contradiction at the heart of the 2025 boom. A much darker side that's just as real as those record highs.
On the one hand, you've got these huge, respected financial players, like Standard Chartered, making these incredibly bullish predictions. And they're not alone. Some analysts are calling for $200,000 or even more.
And then, on the other hand, you have this. Just look at that number. The US Department of Justice just seized $15 billion worth of Bitcoin. That's the largest single forfeiture in its history, and it was all tied to a giant international fraud ring. And we're not talking about some simple computer hack here. This was linked to these industrial-scale scams called pig butchering. It's a terrible name for a terrible crime, where criminals build fake online relationships, sometimes for months, to fatten up their victims before tricking them into pouring their life savings into fake crypto sites. It's a devastating reminder of the security risks that are still out there.
So what does all this mean for the average person in crypto? Well, the key takeaway here is that even the people who own it are feeling a little shaky. A staggering 40% of current owners admit they are not confident that the technology is actually safe and secure.
And what's really fascinating is what people are worried about. If you look at people who've never owned crypto, that's the group on the left, their biggest fears are the wild price swings and the lack of government rules. But for the people who are actually in the market, the owners on the right, they're way more focused on practical threats, like getting hacked or losing the password to their own wallet.
Okay, so we've been throwing around a lot of terms. Booms, scams, regulations. Let's just hit pause for a second and do a super quick refresher on what the main asset here, Bitcoin, actually is.
So in a nutshell, think of it like this. It's digital money.
But no single bank or government is in charge, which means there's no central point of control. Every transaction is recorded forever on this public digital ledger called a blockchain. And here's the kicker. Its scarcity is literally built into the code. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. Ever.
And believe me, its history has been one heck of a roller coaster ride. I mean, it went from being worth a couple of pizzas to shooting up to nearly $20,000, then crashing spectacularly, only to get legitimized by ETFs and then surge to over 126,000. It has been a wild journey of incredible highs and soul-crushing lows that have tested investors again and again. So, all of this, the highs, the lows, the scams, the promise, it all leads to the one big question on everyone's mind. Where in the world does crypto go from here? Is this a sustainable new era, or are we just at the top of another peak about to take a massive tumble?
Now, when you look at what the experts are saying, they're definitely optimistic, but nobody seems to agree on how optimistic to be. Price predictions for the rest of 2025 are all over the place, but they all point up. So the consensus seems to be that we'll see more growth, but it's going to be a bumpy ride.
Ultimately, it feels like we're standing at a crossroads, with two very different stories for what could happen next. The bull case says that all this new institutional money and clearer rules are going to build a solid foundation for more growth. But the bear case warrants that the crazy volatility, the non-stop scams, and global economic stress could easily trigger another brutal crypto winter.
So here's the bottom line. The story of crypto in 2025 is this incredible tug-of-war between immense, undeniable growth on one side and immense, undeniable risk on the other. And it leaves all of us with one final, massive question that's going to define the next chapter for millions of people. Are we watching the birth of the future of money, or are we just living inside the biggest bubble yet?